right, I'd like to introduce you to one of my favorite photographers. His name is Ansel Adams. He's probably one of the most famous photographers of all time. He was born in 1902 and he died in 1984. Most of his photographs are black and white, and they're often landscape photographs, usually of what we consider the West or the American West. Um, his photographs have actually been reprinted a lot, so some of what I'm about to show you, you might have already seen it before. But he was a creative photographer who developed his own system of taking photographs, and he's definitely influenced a lot of photographers. The photographers who came after him sort of owed a lot to him as well. So the first photograph here is it's of the Teton Mountains. I believe it's out in Wyoming. Um, and I'm not gonna ask you to remember the names or the dates of any of these, but more just look at the photograph for what it is. Hit full screen on the video and just try to appreciate the real detail that you see. Notice the range of tones in this image. So this is why I think this black and white photograph really works, or one of the reasons is because it's not just all really dark and then in some spots and then in other spots really light. There's really a big range of different grays, so to speak, and Ansel Adams called those zones, a big range of zones. His next image here is the moon over top of a small town out west. Again, don't get hung up on the names or the dates on these. We're just looking more for the sake of appreciating the photograph itself. But this is an old town out west, and look at the deep color of the sky, and the moon hangs above it. And if you look closely as the image is going to zoom in here, what you're looking at is a graveyard. And this photograph to me certainly evokes a kind of a feeling, like a sort of only the way that the best photographs can. It's not just a photograph that's of like a doc. He's not just documenting a town. This is like there's a mood to the photograph, so to speak. So I think that's one of the things that photography does as a kind of form of art, is that it helps to evoke mood. And here's another one of this looks like it might be in Utah, but don't quote me on it. Again, the name's not important and the date's not important, but really look at all of the range. If you look at in the center, that rock where the river bends around that rock, look at all of the range of grays that you see there. If you've played around with your iPhone submenus in the light submenus or then the black and white submenus, you've seen that you can kind of adjust certain tones of gray. And this is just something that Ansel Adams was a master at. You see, ultimately, you see really rich blacks as well as a whole range of grays and some pure white. And like the bottom of the rock here where the river bends around, I see pretty much that looks pure white. But then in that rock itself, it's just tons of grays. It's often said of the best black and white photograph does have the maximum white and the maximum black and all the grays in between. If you don't have the maximum white or the maximum black, you might not have the best photograph you possibly could have. Here's another interesting photograph of a structure with two crosses on top of it, and as it pans out, you'll see the look at the texture in the wall itself. That's and the sort of tones all around the edges, sort of really illuminate this structure. This next one is a cave, or it looks like on the side of a cliff. There were some perhaps Native Americans who lived in these structures. I forget the name of this one here, but look at all the tones that Ansel Adams achieved. Now this isn't something like, don't think that you can just hold your iPhone up to this exact spot and really end up taking a photograph like this at all. This requires like a real mastery of the art of photography in order to pull something like this off. So it's not impossible to do digitally. It's you still have to know your stuff. You're not just going to hold your iPhone up and click a button and then have a picture like this. This is something that requires a great amount of skill to pull off. But again, appreciate the maximum. You see there's maximum black, and then there's areas where it gets almost to the maximum white, and then tons of different shades of gray in between there. Here's another image of a mountain and a lake, and I like in this one, you might have your own reason for liking it, but the first thing that pops out to me is the contrast between the land and the water here at the bottom. The water seems to like mirror the mountain and kind of balances the photograph in that way. And the last image we'll take a look at here, Ansel Adams, took and made. I would say make. Ansel Adams made photographs. He didn't take them. He made thousands of photographs, and we're only going to see just a couple. But this is another one of a tree out west, and perhaps this one is one where there's less contrast than in his other photographs, but nonetheless compelling if you really examine some of the different tonalities that he achieved in this image. So be thinking about this as you begin taking photographs on your own. You can try to think in terms of achieving, if you want to take in black and white, in the black and white setting, see if you can capture more of a range of grays. So not just in pure black or pure white, but the most gray and the most contrast that you can achieve among those grays, and you'll be off to a good start on your journey in black and white photography.